Police officers of Reddit, what are you thinking when you see cases like George Floyd? Horrified. When you have someone in custody, you are responsible for their safety and well-being. Why don't we see police officers or departments come out and condemn things like this when they happen? I was on a police subreddit yesterday, and most people seemed to agree with you and stressing that this is less common than the media would have us believe. It was basically boiled down to, yeah, this is bad. The media jumps on it, and the police are not set up to fight a PR battle with the media. I understand that argument, but when so many people agree that what happened is wrong, wouldn't it be a good move to stand up and say we do not condone this as an organization? It's a really bad look when they stay quiet, or as is the case most of time, back up the officer in question. It's like if there was a problem with mailmen stealing packages, I would expect the post office to fire them, have them arrested, and let the public know that it won't be tolerated. We see police unions support politicians for election, but we never see them come together to condemn this sort of thing. It's just a really bad look for all the good cops out there, and I wonder why they don't speak up more often. I have a degree in law enforcement and work in corrections in Minnesota. My thoughts are F that guy. Nobody is taught to put their knee on a guy's neck and leave it there until he passes out and dies. He may as well have had his hands around the man's neck. If I were to go off the video evidence, the officer should be arrested for murder. Not a local, I'm a Fed 5 years into the job. George Floyd was murdered and it's disgusting. We are trained that anything involving the neck is a no-go and is considered deadly force. We were also trained that if you make an arrest in a prone position, you search and then immediately move them onto their side or a seated position, because the risk of asphyxiation is so great. If a suspect says they can't breathe, believe them and take measures to correct to it. This training is reinforced at least twice a year in our use of force training. These officers deserve to spend the rest of their lives in prison. A post I can finally answer. Based in Scotland, I'm a police officer with 5 years service, 2 of which I have been a part-time officer safety instructor. During this training we go over a training subjects and handcuff techniques that we use to a T. This includes all safety aspects including where to apply handcuffs, how tight they should be, ensuring the technique is done correctly, and that the subject is in a controlled but safe position. Positional asphyxia is a vital topic we cover, and it is reiterated time and time again that if a subject ends up on the ground we never, and I reiterate again, never, place any sort of weight on them. Hell, even when sitting in the back of our cars, we watch them and ensure they can breathe and are in a comfortable position for transport. What these cops did was just plain stupid, disproportionate and frankly an embarrassment to policing. I'd also use disgusting if I'm honest. I just hope that people know we are not like this. I'm a former police officer and so have had plenty of training in physical restraint of individuals being arrested. There is no police academy training officers to kneel on someone's neck to subdue them. That's how you kill a person. There is extensive training on how to avoid seriously injuring a person while restraining them, and I guarantee you every one of these officers was trained to never strike a person in the neck or choke them. The officer who killed him is very clearly liable for manslaughter at the very least, and I think the other officers who stood by have some accountability as well, because they knew damn well that was not how you handle a person, and should have stepped up. Retired after 28 years. Nothing less than murder. All the guys I worked with would never have considered doing something like that. You treat combative in custody as once they are secured as human beings. Nothing should be personal. Once they've been subdued and you are safe as an officer, you stand him up, pat him down, and understand that your arrestee is at a low point in his life. Give him some dignity and you'll generally get his respect. It works 90+% of the time. That man was subdued and nobody should have been on him at that point. Cop here. Disgusted. There are 1,000 reasons why this shouldn't have happened. Simple, easy steps that should have been taken. Lessons that policing has learned over the past 200 years and basic things taught in every academy. Make no mistake, this was murder. Maybe not premeditated murder, but nonetheless murder. I will be angry if those officers do not get indicted. I was a cop in the military. In the police academy this was one of the things that taught us not to do as it could crush the windpipe. The only time I was ever taught to use chokes and neck holds was in combat training for deployments. But when we got back we always had to attend retraining classes to relearn what we can do stateside. Retired. It disgusts me as the job is difficult enough as it is, working mostly in sensitive neighborhoods. Brutality like this makes it far more difficult. How difficult was it for you to build community trust? Did you have to continuously fight against atrocities such as the recent cases, or was your community more sheltered from those issues? I worked in a place where the population was about 75% black. As a white cop, I very quickly learned a lot about being respectful and how to be tactful. Humor goes a long way and it's very important not to give off any sign of being fearful. They can sense it. You get used to shouts of abuse as you drive by and guys on the corner will try to provoke you by openly drinking beer. Is it illegal? Yes, but you learn to pick your battles. If you do ever need to stop someone and question them, you know that if you take too long, you will suddenly find yourself surrounded by an angry crowd who have no idea what you are asking. People in these areas are almost always reluctant to even be seen conversing with a cop out of fear of being seen as a snitch. It is true that if you do need to make an arrest, there will almost always be some level of resistance, which makes things very difficult as once you have made the commitment to make the arrest, you have to go through with it. I'm not in any way making excuses for the cops in this particular video, but it isn't easy. However, the cop with his knee on the poor guy appears to be of the alpha male type of cop. These guys are bullies by nature and very difficult to work with if you personally police to different standards. It's very difficult to intervene as a partner as you will likely be ostracized. You take this route and your career is over. Your social life is over. Your marriage will have problems as cop families are pretty close. I'm a police officer in California. I'm absolutely disgusted by the officer's actions. When someone is in our custody you must treat them properly. I don't care if they are arrested for murder or forgery. They are a human with a story and they deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. I had tears streaming down my face watching the video of George Floyd yard. We swore to protect our communities and that's what we set out to do every day. Putting a knee into the neck of a handcuffed man for an extended period of time isn't protecting. A man has lost his life due to the gross negligence of an evil person. May he rest in peace. Since we are tapping into the police community here, can someone please explain what, if anything, the bystanders could have done to help George Floyd? Call 911 and report police brutality? In all seriousness, what is the preventative action here, since none of the police officers on the scene, 4 of which were physically restraining him, reacted to his being murdered right in front of them? Edit. Thank you Murder by Modem for this link ACLU. I'm adding it to my post because I think others will appreciate it and I don't want it to get lost. Edit. In summary, some of the options proposed are below. I apologize if I omitted, misrepresented, or oversimplified anything. The bystanders in this case did many of these things and they were a voice for George when he couldn't speak for himself. Always record the incident, live streaming if possible, and inform the police they are being recorded. Involve other authorities when applicable such as police supervisors, state police, 911, ask for supervisor and an ambulance to report immediately, ACLU, FBI, tell the officers on site that you are involving other authorities. De-escalation, back any crowd or bystanders away from the scene and officers while still being able to record the incident. Have one person, preferably a white person, attempt to approach the officer or officers as a medical professional or voice of reason to explain that it appears that medical treatment may be required and remind the officer or officers that their best interests, career, family, reputation etc. are to act responsibly. Create a diversion/distraction that requires the officers to release the hold, not custody, of anyone in imminent medical danger. Physically remove the threat imposed by the officer or officers by force. This includes exercising your right to carry and discharge a gun. I think everyone agrees that this option will most likely result in physical, potentially fatal, and legal ramifications for the individual or individuals involved, unless the group of bystanders are organized enough and outnumber the officers on the scene to the extent that they can safely take control without further harm. Systemic change, vote, local and national, for people that value human life and will implement change to protect it. This is not an anti-gun sentiment. If you value your right to carry a gun then vote for people that support that. Be vocal in demanding justice when these incidents occur. Push for improved training, hiring practices, and accountability within the police force. I would imagine that this may also include increasing pay for the police force to attract more suitable individuals into the positions. Possibly implement a citizen-based governing body to oversee the police force and their actions.